Marketing is a means to an end. And the end is the growth of the business in a profitable way.
We have 5 new pieces of creative. And so I said, what if we did this?
No bidding strategy is going to cure a bad business model.
Very true. This is where it's really crazy. God, that audio is just so cool.
So cool.
I just want to start dancing.
Yeah, I do. I feel like dancing. I think we should. I think next week we'll start dancing.
There we go.
Every time I get a cool new bit of creative that I just want to brag about, I usually send it to you in Slack, by the way.
Yeah.
So like that's one of the cooler ones. And we've got like these sizzle reels now our team is doing. I don't know. It's like you're not stepping it up on the creative side, as we've talked about many times on the ad lab, then you're going to kind of be left behind in this new age of advertising. But I'm just kind of proud of the stuff that we're doing right now. We're doing a lot of AI video too, which we'll show that at some point. But very exciting, very cool. So in keeping with our recent theme of Ralph having connectivity problems on Fridays,
yep.
As fate would have, I texted you a message that I got from our provider here. It's like the only area in all of Maine that's out of power. I'm like at the dead center of
You're
it.
right there. So the internet company is running a geo
10 minutes
holdout
before we go live.
Yeah, and the geo holdout worked perfectly. Like, yeah, it worked. You do not have any power.
That's right. You don't have power. Thank you for telling me. They told me like 10 minutes after I already didn't have any power. So it's not even real time. So anyway, if I drop off or die or all of a sudden look like crackly, like, Max Headroom, all of a sudden you'll know why. That's a 1980s MTV reference if you didn't get it. So anyway, so today here cooking up chaos in the performance kitchen yet again. John Moran, great to see you on a Friday. And very excited as to what we're going to be talking about today. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't plug a little tier 11 thing that we're doing. And that is actually, we are doing for beauty brands, because I know not all beauty brands come on Fridays, but that's okay. But they watch the replay, is that we are doing a webinar on September 9th, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, September 9th. It is on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, creative for beauty brands. So if you are a beauty brand and you want the inside scoop, we've got it. Lauren Schwartz is hosting that. So we're just talking about our brilliant creative. So she runs that whole department, the go of creative. You can register over at tier11.com/BFCM. That's tier11.com/BFCM. Reserve your spot today. So anyway, without further ado, you are going to get into some badassery today on a test, some kind of diabolical study that you've cooked up in the performance kitchen, and I see stuff smoking in the background and fires burning. You're doing a lot of stuff in there.
I've lost 2 fingers, but I found out something cool.
You only really need like one type.
I know, right? I mean, how much do you really use your pinkies besides like shift and enter? I don't know.
Not really. Like when you're drinking tea, I think.
There we go. And so that's been definitely a lot harder lately. But these are prosthetics now.
That's good.
So we have an account. And they sell hats, really cool, very fine hats for both men and women, primarily focused on women. And the Google Ads account has always done a fairly decent job at getting a lot of good branded conversions. And while those branded conversions were doing well for many, many weeks, months, and years, obviously, the growth of the business wants to scale. So scale was not necessarily possible by going to bottom of the funnel, warm or branded traffic in Google, such as what the same, how Marketing 101 is basically described. So what we're doing is retraining the algorithm. And I truly mean that we've been retraining. That's been the theme of both for Meta and Google when we do a data manipulation prior to an import to teach either the tag or the pixel what to do. we're actually just simply manipulating that data. So the in-platform metrics look different because we're counting something different, but we want to see, is the end result or is the growth of the company on the right path based on what we are doing and why. So essentially what we're looking at is just a very simplistic model of, okay, we need more new customer growth and we want to do it very quickly. And our goal is to try to achieve that specific a specific audience. Now, the important thing to note is I think that I do have a lot of questions that will come to me either on LinkedIn or whatever it may be is, well, we don't have existing customers. We don't really see existing customers often. And I did a little paint diagram, and that is essentially what I'm going to be just showcasing here, just as a simple recap, so that the example of the case study makes sense. So if you wouldn't mind sharing the screen, I'm gonna draw. I'm gonna
I
draw.
can do that.
So we're back on,
Oh, I got drawn.
back in paint. Yep, because it's a lot of
John's
fun.
cloud.
Yep, my cloud. And so, as an example, Google and Meta, all paid media channels will try to go to what we call your website cloud first. And your cloud is your simple website traffic. You have traffic coming in from all areas. You have search, organic, YouTube, you have Meta, you have Instagram, you have affiliate, you have email, whatever you want. Everything is coming to this cloud, and this is where all the people are. So, what we're attempting to do is make sure that as we bring people into our website and bring people out, what the data that is being fed in and outside of Google down here is just the new out and the new in. Only new. If you have returning in, we're not necessarily counting those. So what I mean by that, and this is represented visually, is this is June, July, and August of 25 compared to June, July, August of 24. Now, what you're going to notice is that our spend increased by $100,000 during this time between the June, July, August year over year. So we went from spending $400,000 to $500,000. There's a $100,000 increase in our ad spend. And you'll notice that our conversion value only went up 4% and our conversions went down 8%. Now, this was a cause for concern with the client. And because we were looking at in-platform metrics, and he says, hey, we're supposed to be doing better like this time of year. I see you spending 25% more, but it looks like we're not really getting much. And this is actually what Google is seeing at the same time. Google knows that our conversions aren't as quote unquote plentiful. So the reason for that is when we segment by the conversion action, what was counted last year as conversion value was the enhanced data-driven conversion. That's what was being counted previously. And so what we're looking at is when we start to optimize towards new customer purchases that we're pushing into now, we have to look at as we push into new customer acquisition that's represented in the primary conversion action, we can then look to see what happened in our secondary conversion action. So to catch everyone up as to what I just kind of explained is in the account, this is something that has been counted year over year, which was the previous conversion action called enhanced data driven. That is what was counted last year and still counted this year, just not in a primary conversion action. So essentially, Google is focusing on this back then. It is no longer focusing on this now. What it is focusing on is our new customer purchase that we have installed. And the new customer purchase is at 947. So in order to look at what is going on in the account, we have to look at what was counted year over year and what the changes are. So last year, they made $1.4 million for that ad spend. This year, we increased the ad spend $100,000. And now that metric that they were tracking last year, 1.4, is now 1.9. So we have $457,000 more inside of that same conversion action that has been counted over a year. This is the effect of counting a primary conversion action differently. The primary conversion action that we're now counting is the new customer. That's why you see this thing going down, and that's why you see this thing going up. During this time period of the last 3 months, we've changed from counting all new and returning to only counting new. Very simplistic. We are retraining the algorithm. Now, are we worried about losing existing customers? No. We're trying to train the algorithm on a set of rules, which is the conversions that you see now are the only thing you can count, which is only new customers. So for you to continually produce that result, you have to continually take the very specific similar actions: search terms, psychographics, demographics, geographics. You have things obviously in your demographics like age. You have, we already updated location, but we are training the algorithm on saying these are the people you're producing and these are the people you are not producing. These are the new customers. These are the returning customers. So if you're training yourself on the new and returning, and I give you $1, you can affect the new, you cannot affect the returning. It's inbound. So being primarily inbound, if it is going to see returning customers coming in and making purchases, they're Googling different things. They're taking different actions. The last 3 weeks of their website traffic is irrelevant, because if you're buying a product again, it means that you're probably needing that again, but it doesn't mean that you're online researching should you buy the same thing from the same company that you bought from before. Your actions online are different.
Right.
So a new customer and returning customer online activity a week before the sale are 100% different. It's not that we care about the existing customers. Like, we're not saying like, well, I have too many or I don't have enough. This is not going to be a focus of returning. It is a focus of training the algorithm on new only. This allows it to repeat the actions that it is teaching itself and learning. And how is it teaching itself and learning? By the data we're providing it. So the methodology is not the fact that I don't have returning customers, which this company really does not have too much, but it doesn't mean that we weren't spending a portion of our money attempting to get that happen, for that to happen, even if it doesn't. You can have, for example, 100 new customers every month and 0 returning customers every month. And the algorithm is still attempting to spend money on the existing customers, trying to get them to buy again. It doesn't need to be successful. It just needs to happen for this to be inefficient. So we're trying to say what you're doing right now is X percentile bad. So let's see how this actually affected our incremental when we're looking at our results. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen again. And here we go. So
the purpose, just to summarize so far, if I might, is to figure out how long the algorithm is going to retrain itself in one way, shape, or form to a degree. Okay. And this is like a 90 versus 90 day test. So, or because they ran 90 days and then we took over, and now you're starting from this, point in time, which was when again? I missed that. When did the NC and the RC?
Around June,
okay.
like first week of June.
All right. So you really are into, if I'm doing my monthly math right, you are definitely on the 90 days. So, okay.
Yeah. And what's nice is fascinating. This 90 days, and we spent $100,000 more. So check this out. If we look at our metrics this year, we have about a conversion value by cost of 2.91, actually 3.16 that's enabled. So we're looking at this saying, hey, we are getting 3x return on new customers only. So if we apply that same logic of I'm getting 3x on new customers only, if I said, well, I spent $100,000 more in this last 90 days, what would we expect to see in revenue? Probably 3 times more. So when we're looking at our spend, we have 105 and 105. Let's just do this math here for fun, because we can actually see this, how this is coming together. If we're looking at a 105 in spend increase, there it is. So you see 105,431. So let's do 105,431. And then we multiply that by a 3.16, multiply by 3.16. We look and say, I should have an incremental $333,161. So let's place that off to the side for a moment, and let's grab a new calculator. When we look at the old conversion event, which is the enhanced data driven, we see 457,931. So we have 457,931. We were expecting to have an increase of about a 3.16. So if we take this and divide this by a 105,431, we have a 4.34. Now that 4.34 is a little bit inflated because there is some returning customers in there, because that's the old model that was being counted before in enhanced data driven attribution. So essentially what we've come to the conclusion of is, yes, every $100,000 we put into this account does 3x new customer attribution or new customer acquisition, which is reflected in your previous data going up by 457,000. So that was the increase. So we spent 100 grand more, 457,000 come ins. When counting new, we do see that at least 3x is new customers. So 457,931 here, 457,931 divided or subtracting 333,161. I would say that we probably have about $124,000 of returning users, which is about 25 to 35% on average. Now, if we pull up the actual back end of the site during the same time period, we can see, yes, we do have about 35% existing customers. That math checks out. So if we take out 1/3 of the incremental lift of 400,000, it goes back down to 300,000. The math is all aligning here. It is actually kind of uncanny. And yes, we do have 11% more of 460,000, which is what? Or 4.6 million, which is 460,000, which is looking to be almost the exact incremental increase in the previous enhanced data-driven attribution. So all of this math is here for us. It's all there. What we basically just did is we said, when we focus on new, we see a 3x return. That 3x return, when combined with a 35% increase in your existing customers, now matches your enhanced data-driven conversion. This is very, very simple, but it sounds complicated, but it's very simple. Add 100,000, get $400,000 more. 300,000 of that is new. If you have a 3x on new customers only, your NMR is 3. Perfect. Every dollar you put in, you get $3 back on a new customer that is scalable, which is why you can add 100 Gs in 3 months. So basically increasing this by $30,000 per month has equated a unwavering incremental 3.33 ROAS of new customers only. So all we did is basically just stop Google from counting existing and then force it to only attribute and contribute new. And that is aligning perfectly to the campaign or to the company's top line metrics. And all we basically did is just swap an algorithm. And now we made this thing a complete 3x scalable new customer only 3x type of campaign that we get to just kind of keep pushing more and more and more. So really cool test to see how retraining a pixel or retraining a tag, it puts this thing back into scalability again. And the math, perfectly backs out within a 10% margin of error between the new and returning customers, the new incremental, the returning customer incremental, the lift year over year in revenue, and also matching the fact that we decreased the existing customer rate by 7%, which means when we add in 15% more gross sales on 7% less new customers, so 15% more gross on 7% less returning, there's your new incremental. So kind of cool stuff.
Yeah, I had to shut my camera off here because the internet went unsteady yet again. And I just got a text message that we won't get internet until 6 p.m. tonight. So that was very nice of them to let me know that. This isn't a stop. Whoa, wait a second. Hold on. The lights just went on, John. Wait a second here. We might actually.
Oh, man.
No, they went back off.
Oh my dang. God. I got excited for a minute.
So, yeah, me too. It's nice to have electricity. This is an incredible, this is just, it's an amazing, anybody who's new to this channel and hasn't seen a lot of the results that we talk about here every Friday would be like, yeah, of course. This is kind of becoming commonplace to a certain degree, but all you're really doing is retraining the algorithm to find something else. It's like you've got this golden retriever that all you're saying is go after the red balls. Don't get the green balls, just get the red ball and keep bringing those back to me. It's how long will you be able to how long does it take to train that golden retriever to not bring back the green ball and the red ball at the same time, which is basically what you're doing here. I'm not even a dog person. I'm using a dog analogy. I don't know why, but it just seems like you're just giving a command and saying, oh, I need to retrain you to do this. And it's astounding how it works and how well it works. As long as and it goes back to the original premise of any algorithm, any ad platform is, garbage in, garbage out. if you're giving it good data, then it can self-optimize to that good data. If you're just feeding it a bunch of crap, then it's just not going to really know what to look for. And it's going to get the easiest stuff that it can possibly find, which is,
Yeah.
yes, it's simplistic and it's obvious now, but this is a major breakthrough because we've never been able to really do this to this degree up until this algorithm change in early 2025.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
here's a perfect, like a 90-day study. This has a very low probability that there's statistical insignificance. The difference between the two is absolutely correlative.
Yeah. And I think what's funny is, as the reason why we're like kind of beating the drum is, I think that majority of probably 99% of the people watching this are still using standard events. So this is the reason why when people are wondering why things can't scale, won't scale, what it's doing, why is it, we're looking at metrics that are blended and omni-channel. And then you have even, Google coming out with the platform comparable. I think we did a video on platform comparable, right?
I don't think we did. No.
Well, let me touch upon that, because the reason why we have all these early tests and the reason why we have all of this data here is there is some serious data discrepancies. And I just got off the phone with Google about a half hour ago, shared them this use case, and they said, you know what, John, actually, I don't recommend Demand Gen right now for you. Hold off. Let us investigate further. So Google came on the call and said, hey, why don't you turn on Demand Gen? And I was like, well, let me show you something. And then all of a sudden, after about 20 minutes, he said, I agree. Don't run Demand Gen yet. I was like, okay.
Oh my God. That is classic.
It was pretty fun. I sort of halfway exposed a failure inside of the platform comparable that I think we might have showcased something like this before. Maybe I didn't even share it, but I'll share with you why things like first click or things like, imported events are something that should be taking a lot more. It should be a non-negotiable for almost everybody, in my opinion. The stuff that we can do, I can only show so many case studies about. It's like a win. It's like, man, it's like this is the fastest train I've ever been on. So when we're looking at this platform here, this is June, and then we're going to go back up to April. We're going to look at this 2 time period here. What we're looking at, let me just explain platform comparable. This is what is actually sort of like teaching Demand Gen how to operate. And platform comparable means that a user in Google who has interacted with a Demand Gen campaign in some way, shape, or form, i.e. had a video shown to them, will now take 100% credit, actually even outside of the data-driven attribution model. What this means is that if Google says, I have a standard shopping click and a brand click, 2 clicks, but if there was a Demand Gen ad shown sometime in that sequence, regardless of the clicks, it actually ignores data-driven attribution and says, you're not splitting my conversion. That non-brand shopping click and that branded click, those clicks now no longer exist. That conversion value no longer exists. That conversion no longer exists. All of that goes 100% to me. So they even tell you here, other advertising platforms credit assignment. Other advertising platforms get full credit for an ad, even if there's other touch points in the conversion path. So this, if you read through all 8 pages of basically how Demand Gen's the platform comparable model works, it essentially says, hey, yeah, we saw that you actually had these 8 conversions, but we're gonna basically, we're gonna 10x that thing up to 80. And you only saw let's say 5 new customers, we're gonna 10x that up to 50. So what we're seeing here is that Google is essentially restructuring the way that they show data to us and to its own platform. And when I started to peel the veil back and say, wait, let me ask you something here, Google. My question is if I have all of my purchase and traffic excluded and all of my purchasers excluded, so we have basically all of our purchasers, all of our customers 100% excluded. And this one has not only all of our purchases excluded, but 100% of our traffic supposedly excluded for the last 180 days. How do I have 12 existing customers and 8 new? Or how do I have 13 existing customers versus 5 new? So when I exclude all my traffic and all my existing customers, my data shows a 70-30 split favored towards returning. but they took that new 8, turned it into 76, and told me I have $135 CPA and a 104 ROAS. This one went from $5, cranked up 10x to 50, and then says I have a $70 CPA with a 200% ROAS. And I'm like, well, when I imported this data and then compared it, I actually have a $1,000 NCAC and a $730 NCAC, not a 135 and 70, because this is like the one-day view in Meta. As long as they saw an ad that day and converted, but Meta won't only give the attribution to that. It will actually favor a click over it. This says, I don't care where anybody clicked ever. I will take 100% of the credit from everything that happened in this account as long as I showed an ad to anybody during that entire sequence. So people, unfortunately, might be launching videos thinking, hey, I got 70s. Like, look at those CPAs and look at those conversions. And then when we upload the first click data, I understand that, yes, not everyone is going to click on a YouTube ad, but I cannot understand how I'm importing more clicked YouTube ads off existing customers than new when I excluded 6 months worth of everyone that's ever been on my site and everyone that's ever purchased from me before. This should never happen, period. Now, when you look at it in a different campaign, though, with not first click import, with just server side imports, unfortunately, this account is still running on another company. I'm not going to call them out by name because if we blur everything, I don't want to ever bash anybody publicly, but there's another company, very liked, well respected, and you know, they have a good name in the industry. But when we imported the non-first click data, we had 417, and it actually in the platform comparable shows the same metrics here. Sorry, it will show 443. So we uploaded 417. Sorry, we uploaded 417 and turned it into 443. Okay, we uploaded 11, it turned it into 13. Okay, we uploaded 10. Oh no, sorry, we didn't upload anything there because we didn't have any customers there. But it did, and it actually didn't show any sort of platform comparable because it never converted anything. But what's interesting is when we say, hey, I just had a conversion from a click. Was it first? I have no idea. Where did it come from? Was it Google or Meta? I have no idea. Was it actually YouTube? I have no idea. We just said an event happened where someone bought something and enhanced conversions. That when we sent that data to Google, enhanced conversions said, you know what? That was me. And I actually had more. so it basically took our data, and I said, hey, Google, are these 30 yours? And they said, of course those 30s are mine. Actually, that's 50. Whoa, like fantastic. So when standard, even server-side imports, not first click, but even server imports that didn't have a first click original source Google, it still took 100% credit for it, and even stacked on top of it. So first click, it 10x that data because it's not real. Any click, it only increased it by 10%, but it was still heavily inflated because these actually didn't have any first touch points in Google. We don't even know where these actual conversions came from. They could be direct. So we uploaded a direct conversion into Google, and it's like, oh yeah, it was me. Like every time, every single, I could probably take 10 conversions from email, send it to Google. But yep, that was me. Actually, it's 20. Like they basically just take what we give them and double it, or 5x it if they want to. But when we're looking at the data very clean, when we're retraining an algorithm, I can't even get the algorithm to reflect that, yeah, we have more new customers than returning. And that's after excluding all of our campaigns. I built one, ran it, it failed. Google came in, built it, ran it, it also failed. So we haven't actually run this in some time. And Google's like, well, we'll get back to you. That was July. So I'm waiting to hear back. But it is really, really interesting that the data that you're seeing inside that platform, if it is not actually attributable to that campaign, Google's taking it and making it 10 times more. So why am I talking about this? It's because it's training itself incorrectly and then turning around and training the media buyer in the wrong direction. If I upload 10, it turns into 100 and I have a fantastic ROAS. Who am I to say, no, that can't be real. I didn't actually do that. Let me go to my boss and let me go to my client and say, I messed up. No one's going to do that. They're just going to be like, holy crap. Wait, did you just say I have a 700 ROAS? Oh, don't tell anybody. Just tell my boss that. That's basically what they're banking on. So it's kind of like that. That is what's really interesting. But anyway, that's the reason is the platforms are getting more greedy. They are doing more auto targeting. YouTube's gone. So now it's Demand Gen. Okay, good. Now what do I do? It's platform comparable now, baby. Whatever we did, we 10x. Oh my God. Well, if I'm just going to use that as face value, how are you ever going to look at Demand Gen the same? It's completely inflated, just like the one-day view. So I got Google showing 1,000 view-through conversions. You have Meta showing 1,000 view-through conversions, and you have 1,000 conversions. All we did is just move from click attributed over attribution. And now we just piled on view engage attribution that's over attributed. Ralph probably lost some power again. But so that's what's really interesting is we're seeing just a massive amount of highly inflated data, a massive amount of highly replicated data between the paid media platforms, and it is training itself. Like that is freaking scary for it to be like, I have 10, I actually have 100, and I believe that I have 100. So now I'm just going to add more to that. Long story short, Ralph, all I was saying is that the algorithms are auto-targeting and then teaching itself the wrong way. So that's why I'm really beating this drum as I see this thing going further and further. YouTube's gone. It's demand gen. Shopping. What if shopping goes away? What if search goes away? What if you're just left with PMAX and demand gen? Like that's a scary environment to be in with just PMAX and just demand gen when it has hyperinflated data that is training itself on. This could be the downfall of Google in the next 1 or 2 years if they do this wrong. It's a scary thing. Oh, and we can't hear you, Ralph. I'm sorry.
My internet is actually back. So
hey, yeah,
I can engage in the conversation. What did Google, when you had a conversation, super interesting. This is all super interesting, by the way. I've heard everything. I just haven't been able to respond because we're.
Oh no. I think Ralph's frozen again. Oh, wait, Ralph, you're back.
I'm back. I don't know.
I see it.
I'm gonna keep both computers live for right now.
There we go.
Anyway, I'm super interested to hear. This is great, by the way. I'm interested to hear what Google told you. Did you have this conversation with them in that conversation that you had before at the Ad Lab here today? Like, what's the reaction to this? Because it just seems like they react to whatever it is that you tell them. Like,
it was cool. So I was on with the guy. I won't say the last names. I was on with a guy named Justin and Brandon. I mean, very, very, very highly respectable people in my opinion. They were on the up and up in my opinion. I mean, they looked at the data, they understood it, and then we actually modeled it out.
They got it.
Yeah. And what ended up happening is they sort of agreed. They're like, yeah, like we do see that too. Like there is a thing there that is. You know, when you auto target based on conversions, why wouldn't you go after the place with the heaviest conversions? It's like, it makes sense. So we'd actually develop a new strategy that we're going to be testing in the Meth Lab. I mean, Ad Lab. So we're actually going to be developing YouTube feeder. Oh. YouTube feeder is what we're going to. Yeah. And YouTube feeder is going to be a combination of 3 different campaigns together, 2 primarily. So what we're going to be doing is launching YouTube CPV and CPM campaigns. So not conversion based. When we run CPM and CPV campaigns, not conversion based, specifically the sequencing campaign, the sequencing campaigns are going to allow us to be not conversion action driven, but audience driven. So like old school marketing, i.e. 2 years ago. We're going to go back to that model where we get to pick and choose our targets, show them a sequence of ads that is going to increase the frequency to probably more 4 or 5, at least show them 4 or 5 videos. And as those people click or get engaged or come to the site, then demand gen is going to be able to go after those people. And why do we believe that demand gen would favor YouTube traffic over things like organic or meta traffic? Because the data that YouTube has on its own users is far more quality than the data it has on other sources. It can match Google clicks to Google users. It's harder to match Facebook clicks to a Google user. Mm-hmm. So there's 2 different platforms. So what we're saying is if we can turn on a sequencing campaign on a CPV model, bring in new traffic that's about 95% cold according to the data suite. Those are very cold users, very new users. And if we can impress them and tell them a story, and then demand gen can go and follow up with those people who are engaging in as recently video ads and are also on the site and have a chance to convert, we're going to be building a YouTube feeder. And then if they do also start to search later, that's where PMAX would pick it up for new customer only. But we're going to take a standard shopping PMAX. We're going to do a YouTube sequencing demand gen campaign, launch old school YouTube on top of demand gen to feed it its own new users. And because demand gen usually has a 1.3, 1.6 frequency, which is not enough to introduce, educate, and convert a user. It's basically just trying to get a conversion. That's why frequency is low. This forces frequency high on new audiences and says, okay, now you have a 5 and 6 before you get into the are you ready to buy stage of demand gen. So rather than demand gen just stuck at lower funnel, this is middle upper funnel pushed into lower funnel at the same time. So that's what we're going to be testing next.
That's fascinating. So, it's a YouTube strategy specifically. I mean, obviously we all know that YouTube, there's no click. So, but how would it, it's obviously you said
Oh no, Ralph. Let me get a supportive piece of document here that I can help. All right. So, oh, you're back.
Oh, it's coming in and out. I don't know. Which. I've got two computers going, one on Wi-Fi and then one on like cellular. So maybe I'll just go back to the cellular one because this one is not working.
Maybe
So
that'll
anyway,
work.
but you got my question. I'm just gonna
Yes.
kill the camera here. Hang on.
Yeah. So the reason why we believe this is going to work is because Google actually has, this is kind of confirmed by Google. Google actually has data on who is watching what. And so if I'm running a demand gen or a video view campaign, it knows the audience, the who, what, when, where, how. We don't know their names, and Google won't give us their names. Google knows their names if they have an audience of them. And we're basically saying, what are the engagements coming from a video campaign? This is just demand gen, by the way. But if people are having a engagement of watching YouTube videos, that is an audience that it can target. So they don't actually have to make it to the website for demand gen to go follow up with them. And that's the beauty of this whole thing. On Facebook, they had to make it to the site for demand gen to follow up with them. So unfortunately, when you have a lot of high click traffic from Facebook and not a lot of high click traffic from demand gen, you have a ton of users coming into the site from Facebook that demand gen says, well, now that you're here, let me go and target you. And that ends up being warm. If demand gen can go and identify, and as per Google, it shouldn't have any issues doing this, but if demand gen can identify users who are engaging in our other YouTube video ad campaigns, and they are having a engagement of, a stop, a hook, maybe a click, it can identify the people that have they have some frequency of YouTube videos. Demand gen can see people interacting with YouTube videos. It's the same network. So if I can skip the click from Meta and go right from a view and possibly also a click inside of YouTube, can I feed it a larger audience of more intent base, because we're going to use similar videos? We're going to have the targeting of the users inside of the sequencing campaign for people who are Googling bottom of the funnel, middle of the funnel search terms, or in the market, or will be in the market for a product that we're trying to sell or a service we're trying to provide. So I'm starting the people off on, hey, I know last week you Googled best running shoe, and now you're going to see a sequencing campaign about why we had the best running shoe. After you watch those 6 videos in a row, as an example, if you click on any of those, or if you're watching and engaging those and not skipping, demand gen's going to hunt you down and be like, you're ready to buy a running shoe. That's the thought process there. I don't know if you're here, Ralph. But if not, I might just dive into some questions. I know we have 20 minutes left. Maybe give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. I don't know if they can send over anything inside the video as a thumbs up or not. Let's just dive into some questions. Okay. So I can't pull it up on the screen. That's Ralph's control. I don't have that sort of access. But I'm going to start off with El Mundo de Lolo. Awesome name. For Meta Ecom, I have categories with different profit margins. Should I separate campaigns based on similar PM? I use profit metrics to send data to Meta. I don't bid for profit, but I can measure it. So my opinion is Meta is really only being driven around by that conversion event. If all of them are using the standard purchase event action, which is a $1,000 purchase is a purchase and a $1 purchase is a purchase, there really isn't any sort of differentiation between Meta's pixel by saying this is the person that we want, this is the person that we do not want. Thank you. I appreciate it, sir. So what we found is that when we have products that have different AOV or even also different products, it is having to retrain that algorithm. What I mean by that is something that looks like this. And this is actually really important to understand because people without this sort of visual clarity may not see that this is actually what is happening. So I'm going to go into my account here and let me just share with you the last like a few days worth of data. This company was built on a very specific product called Critical Immune Defense. It's one of our best-selling items. It's a really high-quality product, and we sell a massive shit ton of it. So out of $60,000, 50 grand goes to the Critical Immune Defense. So that becomes an issue when we're like, hey, we want to get new joint customers for our joint product. It says, cool, I'll give you your 10 joint products, but I'm also going to sell, immune products. So we're retraining it out to get out of all of these immune product events. And it's working well. And that's the last 3 days. But if we go to like the last 30 days out of 75, new joint customers, I also have 28 new customers for immune. So you see, it was like a 75-25 split. Now let's just say last 3 days after this has been training for a little while, now we have a 10 and 1. Excellent. So we went from originally it was like 50-50, then it went 60-40, 70-30. Now it's 90%. So if I want a different AOV, a different product or a different customer or a different anything, I have to retrain the pixel. Hey, remember how much conversions we used to get on immune? Yes. Forget everything that you ever knew. Now you have to go over there. Well, you can't do that with Meta unless you tell it that it is now optimizing for something else. The targeting is your creative. Yes, you can throw in ads that are different. The problem is Meta's pixel is retrained on an audience for so often, it takes your other product, shows it to those people. Those people see that ad and say, wow, I remember that company. I wanted to buy the other thing. They click on that ad and they go and they buy. And then that is confirmation bias to Meta that, hey, that product must be selling because people that actually didn't want that product use that ad to go buy the other product. So this is, again, still the kind of same theme of retraining the pixels and retraining the tags for specific events such as AOV or profitability. You need to tell it you actually sold the wrong thing, because if we take face value of I did sell that item, it may not have actually been true. And that's why we have this whole series. Hopefully that works. All right. Hey team, for 100K monthly investment in clothing, ecom 70 Meta 30 Google, should we consider TikTok or Pinterest? Any proven performance incrementality? Huge fan from Argentina. Well, thank you very much for watching. I would say, in my opinion, TikTok would be better depending upon, it's not like, grandma's bathrobes. Probably not going to be really good for TikTok. I mean, it might be, but Facebook would still be winner just because of age demographic. If you're looking at a clothing company, I'm assuming you're probably 30s and under. If you're more 25 to 35 to 45, yes, you can still do TikTok. Just don't dump a whole bunch of money into there. Pinterest has been pretty good, but it's very, very difficult to attribute. So unless you're measuring things like NCAC, MER, and new customer growth, and new user growth, be weary of Pinterest, because Pinterest is a little bit of a hit or miss network. So I would say yes to TikTok. Now, my opinion, though, is on TikTok, you want to be optimizing for view content. That means that they actually clicked and looked at the product. In my opinion, on TikTok, if you click on an ad, that's as good as you buying it, in my opinion, from intent. Not many people click on TikTok ads and then go and buy it. They like find out about it and then they Google it later, and then they come in through Google or buy it on Amazon. So when you're looking at TikTok, I would optimize towards the actions of, oh, that's cool, because oh, that's cool is just as high intent as, oh, that's cool, I'm going to buy it now. They might still buy within 24 hours. Optimize towards that. If it works well, you should see the incremental lift on new customers. Media efficiency ratio should be stable, and CAC should be stable with every dollar that you put into TikTok. All right, next. What's your perspective on Google's new smart bidding expiration feature? Would you recommend using it? No. I set up extremely specific use cases for every step of the funnel. Like, I need something to give me the new user. I need that over that frequency. I need the next thing to go and do this. I need the next thing to go and do that. And then I use all only custom imports. And then I actually don't even care if Google shows me a conversion or not. So my opinion, no. I do believe that smart bidding expiration feature, I understand what it's trying to do. In my opinion, it's just more control into Google. And I'm the guy that's trying to go the opposite direction. So I have tested things like AI Max too, which is okay, super broad, but I understand it, but they spend a lot more money than I wanted them to, which is again why you would give the reins to Google. So my opinion is no, you should be paying a specific set amount that you believe in that part of the funnel to be appropriate for that user. How do you best evaluate NCAC when profit margins vary across different products impacting net profit? Sure. So that's actually going back to the retraining of the algorithm that we were kind of talking about before. So I had this client who is that took a small hiatus and tested a different company for a while, and it will be coming back. But there is a setup and structure that we used between April, May up until June 25th, which we were part of the company at the time. And you can see that I actually have very specific very specific conversion events. So as an example, a throne is a $4,000 or $5,000 product. So a $981 is okay. A purchase of this is about a $500 product. So a $247 is okay. So what's nice about this is I know that I have a profit margin on, if you look at a Vista hammock, a Vista hammock is about $425 on sale, but usually $500. Now a hammock throne, you can see right here, this is the throne, that's a $4,000 product. So am I good at getting a 2X on both my thrones and my hammock? Absolutely. Would I blend them together? Absolutely not. That's what the other agency did, and tanked their revenue quite a bit. So it's important to train the algorithm on what you're expecting, because if it's not something that you can track or see that inside the platform, you're left up to crossing your fingers saying, man, I hope it's true. And this whole channel is dedicated to that not being true. So hopefully that helps. No audio, but I can work the controls. The kitchen cannot die. The meth lab will go on. Oh, that's funny. All right, let's do the other one here. So I tried to find out more information about Blotout, which you use to track new versus returning customers, but couldn't find a website. How does it work? What does it cost? And when do you recommend using it? So yes, Blotout, the Tier 11 data suite, Audience OS. There's many different people out there. In my opinion, I'm only going to publicly advocate for the Tier 11 data suite, only because that's kind of where this was originally built on. And so that is something that I would say, if you're looking for this, in my opinion, the Tier 11 data suite is powered by a few different combinations of people that we like, know, and trust, maybe including Blotout. I don't want to give away like trade secrets, but there's a lot of data that has been compiled into the Tier 11 data suite that is a best of all worlds. So that is what I would advocate for. All right. eSupernova. Oh, I think, did we skip one? Do we have the eSupernova? Oh, yeah, there we go. Perfect. Appreciate it. Hey guys, does launching a Google Ads campaign with a high initial budget lead to faster scalability and greater long-term stability? So I have a stair-step approach that is appropriate for a time lag for every one of the accounts. Let me give you an example. If you have a time lag of 30 days to sell a $5,000 piece of furniture, or 2 days to sell a new Apple Watch band for let's say $90 as an example, those will have two different starting and scaling budgets. A high budget on a long sales cycle I prefer. Reason why is long sales cycles take time. They're long sales cycles. Makes sense. Now, if you increase and decrease your budgets on a long sales cycle, what you're doing is spending a lot of money to take a big group of people and start to train them and start to introduce yourself. So imagine this in a sense where you are actually talking to a group of people at a presentation. Okay. And the amount of money that you put into that presentation, the bigger the audience grows. And your presentation is 10 hours long. It's a long sales cycle. What you have to look at is keeping the ad spend high keeps the audience high while you're giving your presentation. If you start the presentation with 100 people in the room and you're like, "Hi, I'm John. Why hasn't everyone bought yet?" Typically what happens is, "I'm spending a lot of money. Where's all my sales?" Well, you just started your presentation. Hold tight, keep going. So if you start to remove 70 people and bring 50 people back in, and then remove 20 people, then bring 1,000 people back in, and be like, "Oh, it's too expensive." And that, what you're doing is you're taking your audience and you're only teaching like 5 at once. The other 100 are just flowing in and out, in and out, in and out. And it's a long sales cycle. So the people that made it past, your time to the hour 10, there might be 7 people out of the 1,000 that you eventually brought in and out. That's how you have to think about your ad spend. Is if I have a long sales cycle and a high ad spend, it means I'm training a big group of audience for a long time. That's expensive. Yes. But you're selling probably $5,000 items. That's such as life. That's the reason why it takes $1,000 to sell a throne, because it's a $5,000 hammock. People are not really impulse buying $5,000 hammocks very often. It takes time, more expensive, higher CPA, but higher AOV. That's why those two average out. So on a short sales cycle, you can be like, okay, if I spend $100, did I make a sale in 2 days? Yes. 200, did I double it? Yes. 300, did I double it? Yes. 400, did I double it? Yes. You can see in very short succession, your entire sales pipeline is completed in 2 days. You can afford to increase your ad spend, but you cannot treat a long sales cycle the same way, because no one wants to leave and join the presentation sporadically due to the emotions of the person who is presenting. And that's what bad campaigns, not advertisers, bad campaigns end up doing, is they have high amount of fluctuation in spend, and now there's no consistency. And then you got to restart from the beginning and do it the right way anyway. So that's my thought process on how to scale budgets based on sales cycle. All right. Is there a way to stop search partners from PMAX? Seems like we are getting a ton of spam. So search partners, I wouldn't always put my eggs in that basket. There is no publicly available data on where spam is coming from inside of Performance Max. I just have to be very, very clear about that. There is equal amount of spam in the YouTube area of Performance Max from bad YouTube channels that are hiring clickbots and farms to click on all their ads so they have their earnings per view go up. That is a portion that you also cannot identify inside of Performance Max. So while Performance Max may say that there is a lot of search partners, that also could be engaged view conversion that maybe never even had a click, that maybe never even gave you the spam, but has a high amount of conversion. So there's reasons why or why not an area inside of Performance Max works. But again, The only thing that we've been able to produce as a retrain that algorithm is only importing the quality, either on a sale or a lead. So Performance Max, in my opinion, is horrible for lead generation because it goes to where intent happens, and intent is based on in click, and click bots and farms usually overtake it because 100%, or actually sometimes 1,000% click-through rate. One video view, one click, 10 form submissions, or one video view, 10, one video impression, 10 views. Like this, a lot of times just refreshed. So PMAX is very susceptible to spam, so you have to treat it as such. If it starts to believe that the actions it's taking are true and they're based off of spam or bots, it doesn't spiral. It just laser focuses and runs that direction. And then you scale it up because the ROAS looks good, the CPA looks good, but then you find out, oh, we produce a whole bunch of junk. So again, I've been every which way in shape and form trying to rebuild Performance Max, but still turning it into a engine that is only focusing on what I wanted to focus on has been way better than trying to control the black box. So like, wait, no, don't go over there. Come back. Oh, don't go over there. No, that's a bot. That's a bad YouTube channel. Come back. Skipping all that crap, because I've done that for years, is a lot easier just by saying you can go wherever you want, but unless that number goes up, you fail. And it's easier just by steering it from behind. You said that algorithm is training itself wrong with view conversions. Why do you bid for views? Wouldn't it inflate? So I wouldn't say that it's necessarily training itself wrong on view conversions. It can, if it is counting something that is not necessarily real. So we import as, again, first click new customer, not all new customers imported to every channel. That is where it goes bad. So what ends up happening with Meta is it's not necessarily retraining it on wrong clicks. What it is seeing is that if I can show an ad to a person ready to go, I get a point. So if you tell a computer, show an ad to the person who is about to purchase that day, and you get more money, it's going to do what? Not try to go and hunt down cold traffic and take a long time to get them to convert. It's a conversion beast. So it is going to hunt them down. Now, what they first click CAPI import does is says you showed an ad to 10 people who are ready to go today in the standard purchase event, but you counted it as 0. So it didn't earn any money. It didn't get its cookie. It failed. But if it starts to change its targeting and take different actions, and it starts to see the conversion number go up, well, what is the conversion number that's going up? First click new customers. So it can train itself wrong. And that happens actually very, very, very frequently. So let me give you just a 2-second example so I can show your screen here. And this is what I mean when you take actuality in consideration, when you take real physics, which is what I love saying is it's actually, I can't say it any other way. For example, this is what we would have to believe is true. So if we look at the attribution model on one-day engaged view, I don't believe anybody here would say that this is a factual statement. So it takes one day, you got 116 purchases. Okay. Day 7, that 116 goes up to 359. Now day 28, that 359 goes up to 423. So we see it takes almost a month for an entire sales cycle to kick in. Yeah, it's about true. It's doing forklift online certifications. So yeah, it might take a month to get all of your certifications and get everything completed. That is true. Now, at the same time, though, this cannot be true. That 2,499 people simply saw your ad within one day and converted. So do we actually have a 28-day sales cycle, or is this really good at just showing an ad to 2,500 people that it knows are going to convert? Well, I can tell you that when we shut this campaign off, nothing happened. So we didn't really see any loss of anything. So it was just attribution, and that's how it can train itself wrong. All right. Cool. Question for both. Ooh, we got, I don't know if you're here, Ralph, but we have a question for both of us. What advice would you give someone, me, career-wise, in terms of where the industry is going, working at agency or freelance, basically how to become a John Moran wizard career-wise? So my opinion is, whenever you make a change inside of a paid media platform, your first thing that you want to look at as a result is not in the platform. So get very, very systemic on, I increased ad spend on my Google Ads campaign. Cool. Close that down. And now just watch your website. Look at the backend metrics. Do you have new customers? Is it attributable to that channel? Are they buying? Do you have more revenue? If you crank up that revenue, or if you crank up that ad spend, and this is just assuming that it's just one channel, let's just assume we're not talking about multimedia mix modeling. That's going to take a while. But if we're running one campaign, one channel, one website, keep it very simplistic. What you have to start to train yourself on is, if I crank up the ad spend here, I can close that down, run over to my website, and then watch it. If it doesn't go up, go back to Google and look at Google. If Google says, hey, it's going up, Now you're starting to see the discrepancies. Now you're like, aha, like this is, now I'm seeing what happened. My new customers stayed maybe flat, maybe got increased a little bit, but an email campaign went out that week and got 37 more return customer sales. What did Google say? Google said it had 31. Is Google taking credit for my email sales? Maybe. First click copy import solves that, by the way. But that's typically what happens is other channels conversions become paid media channels attribution. And that is actually something that happens quite frequently. I'll do a half a second example too on this, because this is stuff that is just super fun. I love this stuff. So when we're looking at, I'm going to go through this is a gentleman that sells lobster. And that was something that happened all the time. And that is why Meta was unfortunately just kind of really hurting his company for quite some time, is when you look at analytics and you look at the channels that are actually producing new and returning customers. If you look at the top marketing channels for the last 90 days on first click, by the way, that's a really, really, really important thing. Everything's based on first click because that's actually where users started their journey, at least from an interaction standpoint. Now, in this area here, the campaign says that they have spent $47,000 and got $66 CPA and 717 purchases since April. Now, if you look inside of here, where does most of your first time and returning customers come from is attentive. It's from first click text message, not physically possible. We're not buying lists. Your first click cannot be a text message. Your first click has to be coming to the site from somewhere, joining the text message, returning to the site through text message, and then buying. So first click, 3,000 can't be true. But every single time that this text message went out and these returning customers purchased, that number went up. Which is why when I joined, I said, hey, by the way, when we're looking at just like in June, for example, if you look at these, let's say 248 purchases, do you know that only 25 are new? So about 10% of the purchases are new. So that is not $65 CPA. That's a $650 cost of new customer. You're still going to spend $16,000 where you triple your AOV on new customers with the cost, selling $200 products one time for $600? No. But Meta says, don't worry. You're making sales and it's coming from here. If you believe that, that's where things fail. So being able to say, like, if you crank up spend and it shows a bunch of sales and you run over to the back end, you're like, where's all my new customers? Now you're starting to think like a business owner and not a media buyer. And that's what you need to do if you want to be a good media buyer. All right. We're right at time. I think we got through most of them. I'm not sure if Ralph, if you're here, but this was fun. Audio is deactivated. All right. No worries. I really appreciate it, everyone. Thanks so much. Oh, I think you got, there it is. Perfect. So my answer for learn everything you can, work 16 hours a day, every day for a year and get 10,000 hours of expertise, work for free if you can management be so good they can never fire you. That's actually kind of what I did. So yeah, that is true. I was actually working for free to use as a case study. Like, if I can make you a bunch of money, I'll do it for free. And then I said, can you tell people that this is what happened if it has a good performance for you? We did that quite often. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Yeah, then work another 10,000 hours to become the next JMO. I hope that happens. I'd like to stop working 10,000 hours. But this is fun. I really appreciate everyone. I do have to run because it's 3:30, but thank you very much for being here. Thank you for joining the Tier 11 Live, and we will see you all next week. Thank you very much.